Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 185, and we are talking right now with Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. Nick Kalikas is a professional MMA odds maker. Also joining us over the phone, MMA analyst, also with MMAOddsBreaker.com, and of course, former MMA title contender Frank Trigg. All right, Carla Esparza and Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Right now, Esparza, great wrestler, very technically sound, minus 165, but Jedrzejczyk, what a scary underdog, right? She is a terrifying, terrifying woman. She has like the fists of a superhero. She's got the face and eyes of a crackhead. She is terrifying. I'm so scared of her, I wouldn't even want, just looking at her, I don't even want to bet against her. Frank Trigg, you're a pretty fearless guy, but are you not terrified of Joanna Jedrzejczyk?
If I'm Carla Esparza, I'm not terrified at all. If I have her wrestling ability, her wrestling takedown, her wrestling tactics, she's seen all this before. She's seen all the craziness before and people coming out at her. She's seen it through her wrestling career. And unfortunately in MMA, because there's not that many great competitors at the weight class right now, that it's a tougher matchup than she's faced before. But I don't really see her being, scared of her, of Joanna. It's definitely going to be a situation where she has to watch out at the very beginning not to get hit, not to get struck, not to get, caught by one of those big power kicks. But This is a very easy fight for her to win, but it's going to be a boring win. This is the problem. To beat a girl like Joanna, you've got to take her down and hold her down. The wrestling defense is not spectacular. Her wrestling offense is none to speak of, even though she does spend a lot of time working on her wrestling in Poland. It's just not the same level that Carla has. Carla has to take her down and lay on top of her. It's going to be a very difficult lay on top of her because you can't give her any space, because Joanna will get back to her feet if you give her any kind of space in there. So Carla's not going to be able to strike as much. So it's going to be a very boring victory for Carla, but I see her winning on paper relatively easily, meaning from the couch, staying at home, watching the fights, like, oh, she took her down again. Oh, she took her down again. It's going to be one of those fights. In the ring, talking to Carla after the fight, she'd be like, God, every time she threw something, I was scared to death. Every time she's something at me, I had to make sure that I was covered up and not getting hit. It's going to be one of those fights we're looking at where you're like, okay, Carla's a champ, but she's not going to be where everyone's looking at win now. Like, it's going to be a Ronda Rousey type finish where she somehow finds a way to finish him, every single fight. It's not going to happen with this one. This one's going to go to a decision, but Carla's going to win it.
Yeah, I mean, Jedrzejczyk in her last fight looked like her takedown defense was improving, and in her camp, I mean, she's not a dummy. She knows what's coming. She knows what she has to prepare for. She knows what she has to improve in. You think this is not necessarily something that Carla hasn't seen before?
She hasn't seen before, but you're right. We've talked about it in other analysis of fights. If you spend a lot of time trying to take someone down and you can't take them down, it takes a lot of energy out of you. If you're a wrestler, this is what you do. And it is a very difficult task for Carla to take Joanna down in the beginning of the fight. As it gets further along, it's going to get easier and easier because the timing is going to get better. She's going to understand where she's stepping. But there's also another battle going on that most people haven't really caught on to in this, that both fighters are managed by the same management team as Sucker Punch Entertainment. So both these fighters are underneath the same management group. We've talked about it. Will people that train the same camps fight each other, not unless it's for a title fight? These two girls don't fight in the same training camp, but they're the same management group and have been brought up very, very quickly, pushed to the top very, very fast. We also saw Carla come through the house and win on top. And it's another battle going on in the back because both girls are fighting for footing within their management group of who's going to rep me, who's going to get the bigger push, who's going to have the bigger time. And Carla's publicly come out and said, look, this fight is not being pushed by the UFC. It's not being promoted by the UFC. So she's feeling frustrated as a champ that she's not going to get a big push. And some of that will weigh on her when she goes into this fight, because then she'll start thinking, I've got to make a big finish. I've got to have a big knockout. I've got to have a big showing to make the promotion try to push me more as the champ. I am the champ, and they're talking about these other two fighters, these other two girl fighters that are below them in the rankings. That's the big fight for the weight class, not their fight. And it's very hard for Carla to deal with. And so we might see her try a little bit too hard in the first and second rounds and waste a little bit of energy, like you said. And that could be a big problem for her if she doesn't get herself under control quickly.
All right, Nick Kalikas, this is an interesting matchup. I don't think I could really guess how the public would be betting this. Where'd you open this line?
I opened at minus 185, plus 145, and right now it's plus 145. So the dog price stayed the same. Line margins tighten up a little bit, and they are getting two-way action on this fight. So a lot of Jedrzejczyk supporters out there, a lot of Esparza supporters coming in as well. This is tough, man. This is a close matchup because, I mean, you do have that stylistic clash of your grappler versus striker, but they're a lot better than that. I mean, Carla's wrestling is, man, it's explosive. It's a thing of beauty, really. What she did with Rose, I mean, all of us were really surprised. I knew that she had a better chance than most people gave her credit for against Rose, but the way she went about it was dominant. I mean, that was really impressive. So That was a tough test, but Jedrzejczyk is actually a harder test, I think, because defensively, I think she's a little bit put together better. Her takedown defense is going to be more solid than Rose. And she had a similar battle. I mean, Gadella, a lot of people were believing that it would be Gadella and Esparza, fighting for that title. In this spot. So Gadella looks for the takedowns. Gadella is a similar kind of blueprint type of fighter as Esparza here. So she just kind of passed that test. It was a competitive decision, though, no doubt about it. In the last fight, it could have went either way with Jedrzejczyk coming through with the win there. But that being said, I mean, she has been tested. She knows what to expect. I don't think it's going to be easy for Carla to take her down, but you do have to give her the edge because she does have that wrestling, that explosiveness to get it done. Now, on the feet, Carla's boxing has gotten a lot better. She's been working on it. You could tell she's developing a little bit more power, more confidence, more speed, but she doesn't want to stand and bang with Jedrzejczyk at all. I mean, it's going to be a nightmare for her. So this is a tough one. It's, I think it's honestly a dog or pass situation as far as betting goes, but as far as pure pick goes, you got to lean a little bit more towards the wrestler.
It's a fascinating fight. It's going to be interesting to watch, but it sounds like the action maybe hasn't been that big, that there's relatively low betting volume on this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay, though. I mean, like I said, they're getting trickles both ways, so the line's kind of bouncing around a little bit, but staying pretty steady. And we will see, I'm sure we will see eventually some significant movement, especially on fight day. When the limits open up a little bit more, there's going to be some sharp action coming in, I'm sure, on both sides of this fight as well. So we'll see some movement, I'm sure, by fight day or on fight day. And we'll see, which way the majority of the action starts trickling in here. But I do think it is a dog or pass situation. It's just tough, man, because I mean, Jedrzejczyk, she, like you said, she has been working for sure on the takedown defense. She is hard to hold down once you get her down as well. And then on the feet, man, she's going to pick apart a lot of people. I know Rose got a ton of respect, but I actually think Jedrzejczyk deserves a little bit more respect than Rose did because she's, again, a little bit more defensively put together.
So the betting action probably going to be pretty even, but Frank Trigg, Nick just gave the opinion that from a betting perspective, this is Jedrzejczyk or pass, dog or pass situation, but you would disagree with that? You would say that it's either a bet on Esparza or pass?
I actually agree with Nick where, if you're going to lay money on it, it's got to be Joanna. Jedrzejczyk. But I'm definitely picking Carla Esparza, so I'm personally leaving this one alone because it's not worth the value for me.
What about the total? Because, it's a 5-round fight and 4.5. The under 4.5, you can get it plus 130. I mean, if either of these girls gasses, then the fight could end very quickly at any time in the first 4 rounds. Do you see this one going the distance, Frank Trigg?
I see it going the distance, and that's the problem. I see this one being, unfortunately, it's going to be a boring fight for Carla to win because the style she has to use to win it, to get out of the fight, make sure she's still a champ, is going to be one that's going to make it go to a decision. That's my opinion. This one's going to go all 5 rounds.
So you would officially pass on this fight in terms of a bet, but if you had a free bet, if you had to make a bet here, what would it be? On the over?
Yes. Yep. I'd be betting on the over on this one. If I had a free play, I'd definitely put it on the over.
All right. Over 4.5 minus 150. Thanks, guys.